Is it a crowd of people or just the center? Just hello. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Glad we didn't have to say good night, like tonight, meaning. And Manu put on his best jeans for this event. Thank you. Hurry, his what? Cicada. Oh yeah, I heard about that cicada. Did you bring him home in a little jar, or her? Are cicadas male and female? I don't even know. Who knows? Let's check the knowledgeable press corps. Who knows if cicada? There are male and female. There you go. There you go. Okay. Good afternoon to all my friends in the press and my fellow cicadas. No, okay. Before I lay out the agenda for the upcoming June work period, I just want to say a few words about the vote the Senate just had on the commission. I won't say that much because you heard me on the floor, I'm sure. But, you know, this is democracy at stake. The bottom line is very simple. If Americans lose faith in the veracity and honor of our elections, it's the beginning of end of our democracy. That's what happens in dictatorships. People don't believe the elections. And Donald Trump has perpetrated the big lie, and this goes way beyond party. And I'm just terribly disappointed that so many Republicans refuse to even look at a bipartisan, down the middle look at it because they're afraid of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a bane to our democracy. And unless people in his own party stand up to him, it's bad for the party, it's bad for those individuals, but most of all, it's bad for the country. So I hope that will change. Okay. Now, just reviewing our last work period, we've had a really productive May session. Our committees have advanced critical issues in the president's Build Back Better agenda. We confirmed many of the president's nominees, and we came together on a bipartisan basis to advance a historic and wide-reaching piece of legislation, the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act, the most significant investment in science, technology, and American manufacturing in an entire generation. This is one of the most significant pieces of legislation that's come before the Senate in a very long time, and it's going to have huge effects down the road. It doesn't get the attention it should, I've said, for three reasons. Number one, because it's bipartisan, so there's no fighting. You know, I know you guys like fighting. Number two, because it is going to take effect, not immediately, although the CHIPS part will, but in general, it won't take effect, but it'll have dramatic effects 4, 5, 10 years from now. And I forgot the third reason. I had three reasons. I said them in my speech. Do you remember? What is it? What? Oh, yeah, it's positive, not negative. Okay, it's a positive piece of legislation. Okay, anyway, we're very proud of it. All right. Exercising our authority over the CRA, the Congressional Review Act, we reversed several egregious Trump-era rules that hurt our environment and gave big corporations more power over American workers, circumvented critical protections for consumers. We also witnessed President Biden sign the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. It's a piece of legislation that originated in the Senate, and it's critical to combating the wave of attacks against Asian Americans. So those were all good things done on a bipartisan basis. At the same time, we have seen the limits of bipartisanship and the resurgence of Republican obstructionism. Despite 3 months of regular orders on USICA, the input of no fewer than 6 committees, dozens of Republican amendments accepted to the bill, 21 roll call and voice votes on amendments, a vote out of the 2 major committees, 21-1 and 24-4. Senate Republicans sought to delay the inevitable passage of USICA by 2 weeks, even as many American manufacturers are experiencing devastating semiconductor shortages and pleading with us for help. It was only when this morning, when the 5 or 6 Republicans who were holding up the bill saw all 50 Democrats on the floor that they realized they couldn't roll us, and then they accepted our agreement. But it ensures that USICA will pass as soon as we resume legislative session. maybe even worse, certainly worse. Senate Republicans, at the personal request of Leader McConnell, continue their brazen attempts to whitewash the attack of January 6th by filibustering the House-passed bipartisan January 6th commission, even though, as I said, Speaker Pelosi and I agreed to changes proposed by Senator Collins. They were still only able to get 6 votes. Senators should rest assured that the events of January 6th will be investigated, and that as Majority Leader, I reserve the right to force the Senate to vote on the bill again at the appropriate time. Senate Democrats are doing everything we can to move bipartisan legislation where the opportunity exists. But we will not wait for months and months to pass meaningful legislation that delivers real results for the American people. So looking ahead, when the Senate reconvenes on June 7th, we'll force a vote on H.R. 7. That's called the Paycheck Fairness Act. It's equal pay for women. It's a long overdue piece of legislation. It's supported by all 50 Democrats. It previously was filibustered by Senate Republicans during President Obama's second term. It's common sense legislation, and I have promised it will receive a vote in the Senate, and in a couple of weeks, it will. We'll also begin to confirm President Biden's judicial nominees, including very famous and illustrious Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson for the very important Court of Appeals of the D.C. Circuit. The Senate may also, I may also ask the Senate to consider gun legislation and LGBTQ equality legislation during the June work period. And finally, in the last week of the June work period, the week of June 21st, the Senate will vote on S1, the For the People Act, legislation vital to defending our democracy, reducing the influence of dark money, that pernicious influence of powerful special interests, and stopping the wave of Republican voter suppression happening in states across the country in service to the President Trump's big lie. So I repeat, the Senate will vote on S1, the For the People Act, the week of June 21st. In addition, the Senate Democratic majority will continue to make progress on President Biden's Build Back Better economic agenda. We had 2 things going at once, which shows you we'll work bipartisan where we can. And Senator Carper and Senator Capito reported unanimously out of EPW the ground transportation, the road transportation bill. But at the same time, the Senate Finance Committee reported historic clean energy legislation that will begin to fight climate change. And that was voted in committee 14-14. That was not obviously bipartisan. So as the president continues to discuss infrastructure legislation with Senate Republicans, our committees are going to hold hearings and continue their work on Build Back Better with or without the support of Republican senators. We must pass comprehensive jobs and infrastructure legislation this summer. The American people gave us a Democratic Senate to produce big and bold change on the major issues confronting us, and that is what we are doing. Ready for your questions. We'll start here and work all. Usually you're over here.
I came late.
Oh.
Leader Schumer, how much more time should you give bipartisan negotiations on infrastructure? You sound in your letter to your colleagues a little frustrated with working with Republicans.
Well, we were frustrated when we did the most bipartisan bill. I think you'll check it. There were more amendments on this bill than in several years of McConnell's entire tenure as majority leader, certain years. So it is frustrating that when you go totally bipartisan, we take a lot of tough votes on Republican amendments that they still, not just that they still try to block it, a group of them, but McConnell's nowhere on the floor, nowhere around trying to prevent that from happening. And so it is frustrating, but that's not going to stop us where we can from working in a bipartisan way. That's the preferred way to go. It's just not possible in many different areas with this Republican Senate, and it won't stop us from acting.
So
Yes,
nope. You didn't answer the question, though. How long should the president negotiate with Republicans?
Look, I have faith. The president and my beliefs are the same. We'll try to go bipartisan when we can, but it shouldn't stop us from the kind of big, bold action we need. And I have faith in the president, and we talk all the time, and he's going to try to pursue bipartisan where he can, but not let it stop him. Yes, nope, no Manu. We're working our way around. You could wear those jeans and have a cicada, but gotta wait your turn.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. What are your views on Congress, I guess Democrats in Congress moving forward with a select committee to investigate January 6th?
Well, look, it should be investigated. It would be much better to do it in a bipartisan way, and that's what this bill did. But better to investigate with a select committee than not investigate.
Senator Schumer, you had an exchange with Senator Collins on the Senate floor just ahead of the January 6th commission vote. I just wanted to see if you could talk to us a little bit.
I'll just be brief about it.
Yeah.
Senator Collins wanted to make sure that Senator Portman knew that I supported her amendment, which I told many senators, including Manchin. And so I told her I would, and I went and told him, and he voted yes. Yes.
Senator Schumer, Senator McConnell says the exact opposite of you. He says that the
Really?
voters didn't give
Surprise,
the
surprise,
voters didn't
surprise.
give a narrowly held Senate for Democrats to do these big bold things. Just yesterday, he said the president's team and ought to sort of sober up on these big plans. What makes you think as you bring
Well,
this
let's
one
take the
forward-
boldest thing we've done, the ARP, supported by 75% of the American people and 60% of Republicans. There's a huge dichotomy, as President Biden has repeatedly pointed out, between Republican voters and Republican senators and congressmen. 60% of Republicans support ARP, 0 Republicans in the House and Senate vote for it. It's because, unfortunately, they're under the thumb of Donald Trump, who wants nothing done. But that's not where Republicans really are. Yes.
Senator, you're scheduling a vote on S1 without the support of Joe Manchin. Is your bet that he comes around by the end?
We've had 2 very good, strong, and intense discussions in our caucus as recently as Wednesday, and we're continuing to have them. At those caucus lunches, it was made clear how important S1 is to the country, to our Democratic majority, and to individual senators. And those discussions are ongoing, and I have a lot of faith in them. Yes.
Senator, where are you then, as you're saying that you're open to working with Republicans on infrastructure? Where are you in the reconciliation process if that doesn't come together?
Look, as I've said, we try to work with Republicans where we can, but we need big, bold action. And reconciliation is certainly a serious consideration to get that big, bold action if we can't get it with Republicans.
Have you started that
Next.
ball rolling?
Did the filibuster of the January 6th bill today and any of the actions that surrounded this China competitiveness bill make you feel any more willing to or open to the idea of filibuster reform? I know this is going to be a big call considering.
Look, I think the events of the last few days probably made every member of our caucus realize that a lot of our Republican colleagues are not willing to work with us on a whole lot of issues, even issues where we try to be bipartisan. Nope, it was somebody was, I'm trying to get everybody here. Yeah.
Thank you, Senator. You mentioned that you talk pretty frequently to President Biden. Do you sense any impatience on his part or on his staff's part with Republican intransigence?
He's a very patient fellow, but he's a persistent fellow. And as I said, he'll keep talking to Republicans when he thinks there's an opportunity to get something done, but he's not going to let it get in the way of getting the kind of big, bold action he and I believe America needs and requires and wants. Yes.
Would you change the deadline for the January 6th commission if you're going to have votes on it
I'm not
later?
going to debate. I'm not going to. It's right now. Leader McConnell, we all know, twisted a lot of arms not to get it, not to even move to proceed. If we were to get a vote to move proceed, we could begin to discuss different aspects.
So,
Manu.
yeah, thank you. You said that you're open to a select committee in the House. Would you encourage your chairman in the Senate to investigate this? Number one. And number two, two members of your caucus skipped today's vote. Is that okay with you, given how important of a vote this was?
Okay. I'm not going to get into individual members of our caucus. We always made sure we'd have enough votes on all of the issues. On the first issue, I have a lot of faith already. Senator Klobuchar and Senator Peters are looking extensively at what went on January 6th, and I have a lot of faith in what they're doing. And a lot of it, they're working together, and occasionally they reach out to other committees like intelligence where they need some expertise there too. Yes, no, you got your two. You got two. That's more than one. Go
If
ahead.
the House does end up moving towards a select committee, Democrats end up pushing this forward, how quickly do you think they should move on that? And are you worried that any findings would lose credibility with the American public if it's not a
Look,
bipartisan?
we preferred to do it bipartisan. Every Democrat voted for bipartisan. but the facts must come out.
How quickly though? How quickly?
Go ahead, next.
Senator Schumer, yesterday, Republican senators stood where you're standing now and proposed using leftover COVID money that's been appropriated for years now to pay for infrastructure. Is that a red line for you, or would you consider doing that?
Look, we need big, bold, I'm not going to get into the specifics. We need big, bold action. And that means we need very significant infrastructure money along the lines of what President Biden has proposed. Go ahead, Bresnahan.
Hey, you didn't.
He just went
have-
like
you don't
this. I
have your
hardly saw his
budget
hand. What?
You don't have a budget resolution on your colleagues. Are you bringing it, it's gonna bring to the floor?
I think I said previously that we would look to do that in July. This is about June. Next.
The Crapo-Wyden amendment got 91 votes yesterday, had a lot of bipartisan support. Why didn't you want that in the substitute amendment? And did Chairman Wyden fully apprise you of the deal he was working?
Yes, President. Chairman Wyden sometimes has the power of a president over certain matters. We were in touch all the time. There were some objections to that provision from the administration. Yes.
Thank you. You said on the floor last hour, you hoped that this wasn't indicative of Republican obstruction on other bills. But why would we not think what we saw the past couple of days, the vote on the 1.6 billion, why would you not think this is the beginning of the end for the filibuster?
Look, I've said it over and over again. We have to have big, bold action. We have to, we cannot fail on key things to our democracy like S1, and everything's on the table. And we're going to continue to discuss it as we move forward.
That sounds like you're thinking that's in the cards. Changing.
That's all everything's on the table. We hope we can get bipartisan support. So far, we have not seen any glimmers on S1. And if we don't, everything's going to be on the table.
Mr. Leader.
Last one.
If Senator Scott.
The patient to bonus.
Thank you. If Senator Scott and Senator Booker have a deal on policing next month, will you guarantee that you will bring that to the floor? And next month is LGBT Pride Month. You mentioned the LGBT equality bill, but you aren't guaranteeing a vote on it. Why not?
Well, it's one of the things we're considering on LGBTQ. We believe in it strongly. You know, it's a very busy June, and so we're looking at it. What was the first thing?
Will you guarantee a vote on a policing deal? Senator Booker?
Look, Senator Booker briefed me yesterday. They're making good progress. I'm not going to set any artificial deadlines, but I would hope that they could come to a good bipartisan agreement. Thank you, everybody. Nope. Have a nice break. And I will not use the words for the bonus for you, Manu. Patient. Thank you, everybody.
The cicadas love them now.
They are very patient, right? 17 years worth.
2038 midterms.
Did a cicada land on Lotto or something?
TV in the past, man, you're legitimately funny news.